Alright, after our international update, we return to the club side of our Liechtenstein challenge, starting with the January transfer window and the shock departure of Gerard Dilo just 18 months after we signed him. This saga goes back to the end of the summer transfer window when there was interest from quite a few clubs, including Marseille, who came in with a very cheeky £500,000 bid, way below his market value, and our refusal to sanction the move leaving a permanent scowl on his face. And even if you've only played a few seasons of Football Manager, you'll know how the story goes from here. Dilo publicly expressed his disappointment and got the support of his teammates. And with the likes of Hartmann and Mihalovic emerging as first-team talents, I decided to cut my losses, and so a sale to Lens was arranged. And in the same transfer window, we also parted ways with one of the old guard, as Daniel Martinez left the club on a free, returning to Argentina. He was simply no longer needed, as even though Thauan Lara was out with a long-term injury, homegrown talent Yannick Goop had flourished with a run in the first team. Indeed, several of our youngsters were receiving consistent praise from the coaching staff for their development as they got more and more time in the first team. But perhaps some of them had started to develop a little bit too well, as early in January, Bayern Munich came crashing in with a bid for right-back Andreas Corner. This time our talks with the player went a little bit better than with Gerard Dilo, as we were able to placate the youngster with our promise to accept a bid that matched our valuation of him. Ultimately, no further bid came in before the end of the transfer window, though he does now have Barcelona interested in him. Still, with those kind of clubs interested, it's a good sign for the future of the national team at least. There was one other departure, as I sold one of our youngsters, Dennis Berg, to Dynamo Dresden. With so many talented youth academy graduates now coming through, it's becoming increasingly difficult to give all of them the game time they need to develop. So I sanctioned the sale to a team currently doing pretty well in Bundesliga 2, and hopefully, in the long term, that will work out for Dennis and for the Liechtenstein national team. And perhaps it will financially benefit Vaduz as well, as we've included a 50% profit clause and an international appearance clause, so hopefully the Liechtenstein manager will be generous and give him a cap soon. But now back to the Europa League and our round of 16 clash with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Any memories of our 4-0 win here in the league phase were quickly wiped out, as we found ourselves 2 goals down within 11 minutes, the home side having clearly worked on set pieces in training. We would pull one back before half-time with Andreas Corner and Hans Brammer setting up Fink for a tap-in, but disaster early in the second half as we went 3-1 down. But right from the restart, we reduced the deficit once again. Hans Brammer scoring a well-placed effort, both goals coming in the 50th minute there. 8 minutes later, we were level. Brammer involved again as Fink scored. Our joy lasted all of 5 minutes before Angelo Campos secured his hat-trick, and even though we would play the final 20 minutes with a man advantage, we couldn't make it count. Back to the Rheinpark Stadium we went, and it took an own goal in the 82nd minute to break the deadlock. Now, you may have noticed Paul Radžić going down injured in the build-up there, and that's how he spent much of this season. My decision to ignore the struggles with injuries part of the scout report last summer looking like a poor call. But not on this day, as Radžić picked himself up to capitalise on Olner's opportunism and give us the win. 2-0 on the night, 5-4 on aggregate. We will come back to the Europa League for a look at our quarter-final clash with Porto later in the episode, but now time for a Super League Championship Group update. Off to a bright start as we easily saw off Luzern, despite an Edu red card. We also got Yannick Goop's first goal for the club as he continues to impress, with an unbeaten run stretching back to September. A win or draw in our next game would make it 20 matches unbeaten domestically. So of course we lost, but we got back to winning ways a few days later as Fink earned us yet another 1-0 win over Young Boys. Basel meanwhile had moved themselves into third place, but we slapped them down in our next fixture, Brammer and Radžić giving us a 2-goal lead. Basel did pull one back, but thankfully another of our youngsters, Hartmann, secured the win, a measure of revenge for that 5-1 humiliation earlier in the season. A slight wobble next as we drew at Grasshoppers, our 6th consecutive draw with that particular team. We then lost at Luzern the following week, but then got back on track at home to Aarau, and then managed another win over Basel thanks to this strike from Dennis Keigan, which was enough to guarantee top spot. We then closed out the season with a massive win over Young Boys, Hartman on the score sheet again, Achilles getting his first senior goal, an all-round fantastic performance that really solidified us as the new team to beat, even if we will never officially be awarded the title. It was great to see Thuan Lara back to full fitness and scoring as well. We finished the league campaign by finally ending that run of draws with Grasshoppers, ultimately finishing 11 points clear. But of course our season is not over yet. We've got to find out what happened with Porto in the Europa League. Hosting the first leg in Vaduz, we had the better of the game and were presented with a fantastic opportunity as Muro was tripped in the box. Dennis Keigan stepping up and giving us the lead. We had multiple chances to extend that lead, but try as we might, we just couldn't find that second goal. Still, a win's a win and we would take an advantage into the second leg. And our advantage would be swiftly doubled as Rajic took advantage of some shocking defending. Unfortunately, inevitably, he would have to go off injured in the second half. We held our lead on the night until the 74th minute when Porto managed to equalise. And then with just 2 minutes of normal time left, they scored again to force extra time. In extra time, the Portuguese were just too good for us and ended up scoring twice more for a tough-to-take scoreline that really didn't represent our performance over the 2 legs. So yet again, we failed to get past the quarter-final stage in Europe. But our season's still not over yet because, of course, we have the Liechtensteiner Cup. We had started our campaign back in October with a quite unremarkable 3-0 win over Rogel. In the semi-final, played between those 2 Porto games, we got a that's more like it kind of win over Tryson. And now, for the first time ever in the final of the Liechtensteiner Cup, we will play FC Vaduz 2. Now, I'm almost tempted to deliberately lose this match to see what would happen in terms of Europa League qualification with Vaduz 2, but I won't. We will take this seriously. After all, FC Vaduz 2 are possibly the toughest opponents we could face in this competition. But it seems our interest in this clash is not shared by the locals, with only 100 people expected to turn up. But we will turn up, of course, with a live comm. And I'm cutting right in here with the pre-game tunnel interview because, of course, in this situation, this question gets ridiculous. They're asking me what my relationship's like with my managerial opposite number. Of course, he's the Vaduz 2 manager. He's basically my assistant. Here we go. It's the cup final we've been waiting to happen for several seasons. Vaduz versus Vaduz 2. Do you think Vaduz are going to win or are Vaduz going to win? Let me know in the comments. All right, so we're underway with our first highlight. Of course, many of the players in the Vaduz 2 team, you may have seen them turning out for Liechtenstein. In the other episodes, you may have seen them pop up in some of the regular episodes. Muro gives us the lead. What a fantastic goal that is. But of course, as soon as they've played a cup game for Vaduz 2, they're cup tied, so we can't actually use them in the final. But that was a beautiful goal. Look at that. Beautiful pivot from Olner there. Hercules picks out Muro. Fantastic run. Scores from a tight angle. Yes, Vaduz are on their way to victory over Vaduz. Let's see if we can add a second here before halftime. Of course, we don't want to humiliate Vaduz too much because, you know, these are boys that we want to bring into our first team in the near future. Rajic gets goal number 2 and he hasn't crumbled down with an injury, so all good. Now, poor Vaduz 2, they haven't had a shot yet. But anyway, are we going to make it 3 before the half-hour mark here? Thuan Lara, Mihalovic, those guys have been really good acquisitions from the last season or 2. Ishuk now, he's a bit of a veteran these days, still doing a shift for both FC Vaduz and the Liechtenstein national team. Got a lot of time for that player, I have to confess. Olner now, out to Muro. Is he going to cross or shoot? He's going to shoot. I think that may have taken a deflection, but a goal's a goal. Now you might see down here Muro's fitness level is low. He's just recovered from injury, so he's probably trying to put in a shift in the first half, so I'll sub him off for the second. Anyway, he has set up a 3rd goal. Pascal Olner makes it 4. Sorry, set up a 4th goal, I mean. So we will take Muro off at that point. We'll bring on Fabio Fair, let him have a run out. So there you go. So far, it's been easier than those cup finals we've had against the likes of Bolzers and Eschen Moren and things like that. What kind of score total are we going to end up with here? Pascal Olner, relentless. Is anything going to come now from the corner? Whipped in by Laura Mihalovic with a good header, but Hens, he was wise to it. We've obviously worked on that in training. Poor Vaduz 2, they haven't had a sniff yet. Oh, that's a penalty. Olner went down quite theatrically. it has to be said, but we'll take the penalty kick. Who's going to take it for us? This must be Lara. Yes, it is. And Lara makes it 5. It was unfortunate that Lara spent so many months out injured, but it did give Yannick Goop a good run in the team, and that's really helped his development. So blessing in disguise, silver lining, and all that. Oh, could we? I thought for a second, maybe we are. We're going to see a Vaduz 2 attack here. Daniel Fassold, he's played it to Moritz Ville. Ville, is he going to take a shot? He's twisting and turning, but he just ran himself into a dead end there. Couldn't get past Jankovic. Keeling now with the break. Rajic makes it 6. All right, here we go. Vaduz 2. Fassold shoots over. That's their first real chance of the game. It's not actually, you might have seen from the stats there, they've actually had 5 shots. It's the first one we've seen, though. Anyway, is there going to be a goal number 7? Oh, yes, there is. Pascal Olner with an absolute worldie. So there you go. 7-0, your final score. Those Vaduz 2 boys didn't really, showcase themselves very well for potential first team selection in the future. But, this is a well-oiled machine. We're on a high, having, done so well in Europe, having topped the league again. So, we're brimming with confidence, and we're deserved winners of the Cup for, the 60th time or something like that. So there you go, official confirmation. The media have ranked this up against us knocking Borussia Mönchengladbach out of the Europa League, so that's something. Should we sack the manager of Vaduz 2 now? Let me know what you think in the comments. Normally the prize money for this is £443. We get 886 because we supplied both teams. So there you go, our usual trophy, and we've claimed top spot in the Swiss Super League, quarterfinals in the Europa League. Can we break that duck in Europe next season and make it to the semi-finals of a competition for the first time? If you want to find out, you know where you need to look.